Football and stuff. Welcome in. Couple of minutes late. Sorry about that. Orange Apple, thanks for joining in. Hey, bro, how are we? All good. I'm really excited. Friday deadline, Thursday stream. Perfect. How was your trip, by the way? Is it X where I can send my team for? Yes, if you're interested, head over to X. Post a picture of your team selection under my latest post and we'll get it up on the screen. So is this one the Q&A game week 28? Post a picture under that one. Jet lagged, but I had a great time. Back yesterday morning. Quite jet lagged. Football and stuff. O'Reilly helped me grab a green arrow from... Oh, O'Reilly helped you grab a green arrow from 710 to 607. 70k. Nice. I think if you owned O'Reilly, most of the O'Reilly owners got a green arrow in game week 27. So if you had Van Dijk as well, 11 points, that would be great. So low scoring game week overall. I don't really like my own team ahead of game week 28, to be honest. I have Sanchez in goal playing against Arsenal. Gabriel Rice is in. I can, of course, bench Enzo Fernandez, play Elliot Anderson, but I think I'll just sell Enzo Fernandez, to be honest. I have a couple of players on my watch list. Haven't really decided. I think at least I will not bring in Florian Wirtz this game week. He was not pictured in training for Liverpool today, so I will probably go for someone else. Your team doesn't look too good right now, making any transfers. Definitely agree, not really a big fan of my own team. I will most probably use all of my transfers ahead of game week 28. Should I keep Cole Palmer or sell him to Wirtz? I don't really think that Cole Palmer is a keep. Kind of depends how many transfers you have at the moment. It's not a definite sell, but Cole Palmer, considering the fixtures for Chelsea, I'm not really a big Cole Palmer fan for the upcoming game week. So the thing is that Florian Wirtz, he was not pictured in training as mentioned for Liverpool today, so I would actually consider bringing in someone else, to be honest. FPL FOMO, thanks for joining in. Van Dijk, Munoz, save me this game week, a massive 1% green arrow. Had Van Dijk myself, really satisfied with Van Dijk delivering an assist in the dying minutes of that game. Jared Bowen to Raul Jimenez could be an option. I have actually looked at selling Jared Bowen, bringing in Raul Jimenez. I think it's probably a bit point chasing. He's not going to score penalties week in, week out, but I have actually looked at bringing in Ekitike as well. Team has been sent. Nice, let's have a look. So if you're interested in having your team reviewed, head over to X, post a picture under this post, the Q&A game week 28, and we'll have a look. Will potentially make a couple of transfers this evening for my own team, but let's have a look at a couple of other teams first. Here we go. So this is Orange Apple's team. Let's have a look. Raya, so it's a triple up on Arsenal. Enzo Fernandez in midfield. Senesi with a good fixture at home against Sunderland. Rodgers, Cunha, Semenyo, Ekitike, Thiago, and Erling Haaland captain. On the bench, Alderete, Heaven, and the injured Luis Miley. So I think this, it's kind of similar to my team. You have Arsenal, Chelsea in there. It doesn't really look good for game week 28, especially seeing them play against each other. So for blank game week 31, you have 6 players that will blank in game week 31 as well. So with this team, I would potentially look at starting to offload some of the Arsenal and Chelsea players. So my priority with this team would potentially be to sell the likes of Timber and Enzo Fernandez. I will most probably sell Enzo Fernandez myself ahead of game week 28. So potentially something like Timber to Van Dijk, Enzo Fernandez to Django Tara potentially. So Orange Apple, I'm thinking maybe Timber and Enzo Fernandez out. Yes, I definitely agree. I also need to plan towards game week 31 black. Yeah. Definitely makes sense to start selling Arsenal and Chelsea players as mentioned. So Timber out. I think Van Dijk is a solid option. We know that he will play close to 90 minutes. Ryan is an option as well. I think he is interesting. The thing is that I think there will be some rotation in the Bournemouth attack going forward. We know that Tavernier, he is getting back from injury as well. Got 10 minutes in game week 27, so potentially he can eat into Ryan's minutes. So we're not really sure, of course. And I was actually a bit interested in bringing in Tavernier ahead of game week 28, but considering that there is some really quick turnaround between game week 28 and game week 29. So most teams will only have 2 or 3 days between game week 28 and game week 29 fixtures. So I think this is a game week to go for players that are pretty much nailed on. So I think that the likes of Florian Wirtz, considering that he missed out in game week 27, same goes for Tavernier. He only played 10 minutes, so I will go for more nailed on players this game week too. So this is, of course, to make sure that you have a player that will start in both game week 28 and game week 29. So I like the Brentford midfield duo of Schade and Django Utara. Are either planned to drop tonight? If so, I'll make moves tonight. If not, I'll wait. I think you are safe this evening. So I checked live FPL. They have been pretty accurate when it comes to predicting players going up and down in price so far this season. So far, there aren't that many big names rising in price or dropping in price. So we have Dalot, Maguire, potentially Krupi Jr. as well, potentially rising in price. Kukurea, Nathan Ake, Minthe, the Brentford midfielder, can potentially go down in price during the night. So I think it's probably a good strategy to just hold the transfers and wait until tomorrow. Of course, the deadline is tomorrow, so you can't forget to make your transfers and lock them in. So the deadline is actually in 22 hours, 47 minutes. But I don't think there will be that many price changes tonight. So I think you potentially can wait. But Timber out, Enzo Fernandez out, definitely something to consider. Bringing in Van Dijk is a safe option. And I think that Harry Wilson, Django Utara, Kevin Schade, at least those are the midfielders I'm considering at the moment. Football and stuff. My team is Sanchez for Bruggen, Gabriel, Timber, Senesi, O'Reilly, Joachim Andersen, Schade is in, Rice, Enzo Fernandez, Bruno Fernandes, Garner, Krupi Jr., Hallen, and Thiago. So it's a strong team. Who would you start? Also, I have 0.3, 2 free transfers. Bruno Fernandes, captain. Nice punt. So, so with this team, I would potentially start Verbruggen, bench. Start Verbruggen, bench Sanchez. I think Chelsea will most probably concede against Arsenal, so Gabriel should potentially start. He can, of course, hurt your rank if you don't start him. Timber, I think that Timber at this point probably is a sell. Mentioned this with Orange Apple's team as well. I think that having double Arsenal defense is not necessary going forward, especially considering the fact that they will blank game week 31. So selling Timber, selling Enzo Fernandez, I think this is something to consider for football and stuff as well. So with this team, I think I would bench Garner and Krupi Jr. with, I think it's kind of hard because all of your defenders have decent fixtures. Maybe you should do something like Timber to a cheap defender. You have a strong defense with Gabriel, Senesi, O'Reilly, Anderson. Can, of course, do something like Enzo Fernandez to a cheap midfielder as well and bring in Van Dijk. Potentially Timber to Van Dijk. And so to one of the midfielders I mentioned while discussing the team that's on the screen at the moment. Orange Apple's team. I think there are some interesting midfielders and they are differentials as well. The Brentford midfield duo with Kevin Schade and Django Ouattara. You already have Schade in place, so potentially just bring in Harry Wilson, I'd say. So for this team that's on the screen, I would consider bringing in a Brentford midfielder, potentially Schade or Django Ouattara. When it comes to football and stuff, who posted his team in the comments, seeing that you already have Schade in, I would consider bringing in Harry Wilson. Arten tips, mate, please review mine after this. Just sent mine via Twitter from FPL FOMO, so let's have a look at a couple of other teams as well. Six minutes ago, 1 minute, so let's start with Arten. Something like this. Oops. This is it, right? Arten tips in the chat. Jose Sa in goal, interesting option. He was, of course, did well in double game with 26 at home against Aston Villa. Considering you have cash Rodgers, so it's of course not ideal. Seeing that you have Sanchez on the bench, I would probably play Jose Sa myself just for going for the differential, to be honest. Gabriel in defense, cash as mentioned, Hill, Munoz against Man United. So there are some issues with this team as well. You have some players playing against each other. So Munoz in defense playing against Bruno Fernandes. Rodgers playing against your goalkeeper. And seeing Cole Palmer on the bench. I think, did you write how many transfers and how much you have in the bank? I think this team potentially can need a couple of transfers as well. So Semenyo, Erling Haaland. I like the fixture in game week 28 against Leeds. Igor Thiago, of course, he should start. Bruno Fernandes as well will play against a tired Crystal Palace. I think this potentially is a good game week for Man United and especially Bruno Fernandes. So we saw that football and stuff. Actually considering to captain Bruno Fernandes this game week. At the moment, I'm leaning towards Erling Haaland, but I think Thiago is an interesting punt as well, playing against Burnley. So Art and tips, let me know how many transfers do you have. I think with this team, potentially we can consider something like selling Cole Palmer, especially seeing that you will bench Cole Palmer at that price. He's probably someone we should consider selling. Plan is to do Cole Palmer to Florian Wirtz and Enzo Lafayette to Wilson for a -4 if Wirtz is fit. I like the idea of bringing in Liverpool attacking cover with this team. The thing is that Florian Wirtz, as mentioned earlier at the beginning of the stream, he did not participate in the latest Liverpool training session, so he is a doubt ahead of game week 28. I was actually considering bringing in Florian Wirtz myself, but at this point I'm actually considering to bring in Ekitike instead. So of course you can do something like Cole Palmer to a cheap midfielder, Krupi Jr. to Ekitike. Consider something like Django Otara. So Cole Palmer to Django Otara or Ryan Krupi Jr. to Ekitike can potentially be something to consider. Especially if you want Liverpool attacking cover. The thing is that there is a really quick turnaround between game week 28 and the next deadline is on Tuesday. So having a player that's not 100% fit, you can potentially only get one start in the next 2 game weeks. So if Florian Wirtz is not fit, I will fund the Wilson move by doing Chalobah to Dalot. What do you think? Yeah, I actually like this. Dalot, he will potentially rise in price this evening. He is actually the player that looks likeliest to rise in price. So Dalot, if you wait until tomorrow, he will probably be 0.1 more expensive than he is at the moment. I transferred in Florian Wirtz last week. What a kick in the teeth. Yeah, that. I think he was interesting last game week as well. So of course a bit frustrating. Did not start injured in the warm-up, right? And a doubt ahead of game week 28. So bad luck for those who brought in Florian Wirtz ahead of game week 27. If you had 5 free transfers, would you bring in Van Dijk or O'Reilly? It kind of depends on your chip strategy and how many players you have that will potentially blank in game week 31. So what we know is that Wolves, Crystal Palace, Man City and Arsenal, they will most probably blank in game week 31. Arsenal, Wolves, the blank is confirmed. Man City, Crystal Palace is really, really likely to blank. I would probably go Van Dijk considering the fixtures. Even though, so yeah, to be honest, even though your team looks all right, and if you can handle blank game week through one, I think I would just go for Van Dijk. So from Arten Tips, it's his team that's on the screen at the moment. This way I will keep Cole Palmer. He can be a differential till the end of the season. So if you think that Cole Palmer will continue doing well, of course, the thing is that they have really, really tough fixtures coming up. So, but I really like what I saw from Cole Palmer in game week 25 and game week 26. He looked really, really dangerous. I was afraid heading into game week 27, the really good fixture at home for Chelsea against Burnley, heading into that fixture without Cole Palmer, but he blanked. Got subbed off early, so at that price, even though he's on penalties, is Cole Palmer really worth his price tag, especially considering the fixtures? I'm not convinced. So if you have decided to keep Cole Palmer, then potentially you can downgrade Chalobah, and if Wirtz is fit. But I think Cole Palmer potentially is a sell at this point. At least I have a couple of Chelsea assets, and I will potentially sell them both ahead of game week 28. Which transfers do you suggest? Salah, Palmer, or Wirtz, Palmer, or Ekitike, Van Nilsson? So which transfers do you suggest? So is it between Mo Salah, Cole Palmer, Florian Wirtz, Palmer, Ekitike, Van Nilsson? I think when it comes to covering the Liverpool attack, I think that Mo Salah is a bit too expensive as well. He was actually subbed off early in game week 27. He did not impress in that game. So I think that potentially Ekitike, even though, of course, there have been a lot of disappointed Ekitike owners in the last couple of months, but I think considering that he actually has really good attacking stats, I think at some point he can start scoring goals. So I'm willing to take a punt on Ekitike. I might actually do something like Jared Bowen to Ekitike for my own team and target those really good Liverpool fixtures coming up. So Mo Salah, a bit too expensive. So, but of course we know it's Mo Salah. He's on penalties. He can be really explosive when it comes to delivering FPL points, but no premium is firing at the moment, so I can't treat Palmer as a cheap midfielder. Yeah. The thing this season is that it's a bit easier to navigate. You don't have to make those tough decisions when it comes to the premium assets. So last season it was like we had to choose one of Erling Haaland, Mo Salah, and we couldn't really afford Cole Palmer. But if you had all three of them, the rest of your team didn't look really good. So fair point. Okay, thanks for your advice. God bless you. So thanks for joining in. Best of luck for game week 28. Virat Kohli, salam. Thanks for joining in. So let's have a look at FPL FOMO's team as well. So this is FPL FOMO's team. So thing is that with FPL FOMO this season, no Erling Haaland, no Mo Salah. So I just talked about last season we had to choose between Mo Salah and Erling Haaland. This season it has mostly been about Erling Haaland, but FPL FOMO, he has not owned him at any point. So it's Pope in goal playing against Everton, so actually a solid fixture. There have been a lot of Sanchez, Reyes playing against each other, so having Pope this game week could be a really good differential. Gabriel in defense, Van Dijk is in, Cash as well. I actually like Cash a triple up on Aston Villa, and considering that I have said this a couple of times before, I think Aston Villa actually are a bit underrated. They are top 3 still, and they have some solid fixtures coming up, so Cash, Rodgers, Watkins, hopefully this can boost your rank in the upcoming game weeks. Bruno Fernandes, captain, Cole Palmer is in playing against Arsenal, and Bumo, Rice. So Palmer playing against Gabriel, not ideal, but considering Cole Palmer's price, I think it doesn't really make sense to bench Cole Palmer. So Munoz on the bench as well. I agree with this, considering that you have a double up on Man United attack with your captain Bruno Fernandes and Brian Mbumo in as well. So Rice, and up front Igor Thiago, Watkins. So you hello. Thanks for joining in. Did you answer any questions? RG Party. So this is FPL FOMO's team. Did you write how many transfers you have and any transfer plans? I think this team actually looks good on paper. Of course, I'm not a big fan of having attackers play against my defenders. So Cole Palmer against Gabriel, but I wouldn't bench Cole Palmer with this team. I think it actually looks good ahead of game week 28. So hopefully you can get something from Cole Palmer, and Gabriel can get, of course, defensive contributions and potentially attacking returns as well. It makes sense to have Munoz on the bench. I would bench Calvert-Lewin against Man City as well. So nice differential team. Pope in goal, triple up on Aston Villa. I think this team looks solid. Are you giving advice on teams? Yes, if you're interested in having your team reviewed, you can head over to X, post a picture like FPL FOMO has done. It's his team up on the screen at the moment. Or you can simply just write your team in the chat as well. FPL FOMO, I already used my wildcard, so hopefully rolling transfers. Yeah, I think this team is good enough, definitely for game week 28. You have cover on the bench. Hopefully you will not need it, but Calvert-Lewin against Man City, it's not the worst option, of course, and you have Munoz as well. So as mentioned, I would bench those exact same players, especially considering that Munoz is against your double Man United midfield, including captain. So with this team, you have a double up on Arsenal, one Crystal Palace player, no Man City, so you actually only have 3 players that will have a blank in game week 31. So with this team, you can easily navigate blank game week 31. So my plan for the blank, of course, you don't have Haaland in this team, but my plan for the blank is actually to just bench Gabriel and bench Erling Haaland. So I will make transfers this game week. I'm not sure if I will offload any Arsenal players. I will have a look at this in a minute. So this is a new team posted on X. Can you review? I have to go soon. Yeah, this is your team, right? I'm hoping Robinson will be fit for game week 31. Yes, hopefully you can just play Robinson in game week 31. Because we might potentially need all the players on our benches in blank game week 31. So would be a bit annoying if you have a player like Robinson if he isn't fit and available for game week 31, and you'll have to use an additional transfer to remove someone like Robinson. So hopefully he will be fit. But of course, there are some weeks until blank game week 31, so a lot can happen. So this team on the screen benching Sanchez, I think this makes sense. Dubravka starting, especially seeing that you don't have Igor Thiago. We'll hope that Burnley can keep a clean sheet against Brentford. I'm not really sure if it will happen, but of course Dubravka, he is one of those goalkeepers that can get save points and get away with like 4 to 5 points even if Burnley concede. So it's Hill in defense, Gabriel, Mukiele. I think Mukiele, he is potentially a sell. He's rumored to be out up to 3 game weeks. I think this was said in the press conference today. So Mukiele, potentially someone to consider selling. So it's Rice in midfield, Sar, Rogers, and Mbumo, Jared Bowen up front, Krupa Jr. starting with Erling Haaland, captain. Florian Wirtz, yellow flagged, not pictured in training for Liverpool today, so potentially he might actually miss game week 28. I think if you have Florian Wirtz, he should. We will get more information tomorrow about his availability. So I think if you have Florian Wirtz, it's probably a keep. If you don't have him, I'm not sure if he's worth transferring in. The reason why is because there's a really quick turnaround between game week 28 and game week 29. So can't really see if he's not 100% fit. Can't really see him start both game weeks. So Mukiele, someone to consider selling. So Viracoli, let me know, did you post how much you have in the bank and how many transfers you have? I think Mukiele potentially is a sell, as mentioned. Sar is someone I would consider selling soon as well. He is one of those players that will blank in game week 31, so potentially someone to consider selling. I actually think I would sell Sar and just keep Florian Wirtz on the bench, to be honest. What is your X? So my X is the same as on YouTube. It's, let's just write this down. So if you're interested in having your team reviewed, head over to X, post a picture under my latest post. It's this one, the Q&A game week 28. So we've had a look at a couple of teams. Sandri, thanks for joining in. Can you have a look at my team ID? Yes, I can. How are you, Sandri? Review mind check. You did. Thanks. Yeah, I had a quick look at your team. I think what you need to do ahead of game week 28 is potentially to sell Mukiele. He's been confirmed to miss the next 3 weeks, and we have 4 game weeks in 3 weeks. So I think that Mukiele at this point potentially is a sell. We're not sure if he will play in blank game week 31, so you will potentially need your bench in game week 31, so carrying Mukiele is probably not a good idea. Soboslai, Harry Wilson in for Saarinen, so I like those moves. I'm not really a big Soboslai fan, but of course, if you think that he will do well, I can't really see him score free kicks at the same rate as he has done recently. But Soboslai, solid option, especially if Florian Wirtz is out. We know that he will play a bit more advanced. So Soboslai, he can potentially be a really good asset for game week 28. But for me, if Florian Wirtz is out, I will probably look at a way to bring in Ekitike instead. But of course, if you think that Soboslai will do well, I think that he definitely should be considered. I think that the fixtures for Liverpool can't be much better. So bringing in midfielder or attacker from Liverpool definitely makes sense. Harry Wilson, a bit template, of course. They already have quite high ownership, but they will play against the bottom teams in the next fixtures, so he can of course do well. I'm actually considering to bring in Wilson myself. There are other options available, a bit more differential players like Django Otara, and we have Kevin Schade as well, but I definitely like Soboslai and Harry Wilson in for Ismail Assar and Enzo Fernandez. Jared Bowen to Thiago. Yes. I think this is a really good move. Bringing in Igor Thiago. Talked about the Brentford fixtures as well, and Igor Thiago, even though he blanked last game week, he is the talisman for Brentford and on penalties nailed on. So Jared Bowen to Igor Thiago, it's a yes from me. I have both Jared Bowen and Igor Thiago in my own team. I might actually sell Jared Bowen and bring in Ekitike. But this is Sandri's team, 57 points, green arrow in game week 27. So a solid overall rank at this point, 202. So in a good position, can potentially be a really good season for Sandri if you play your chips right. And with a bit of luck, this can potentially be a really good season. So O'Reilly, 17 points. Erling Haaland, captain. Harry Wilson is in with 8 points as well. So solid game week for Sandri. Let's have a look at this mini league. We have followed this mini league every game week this season. So Sandri still on top. Arsenal FC, biggest rival, beat him this game week as well with 5 points. So 107 points above Arsenal FC. Liverpool FC as well is in. Joker is actually starting to catch up with Arsenal FC. We have Bayern Munich and David at the bottom of the table. So quite interesting league this. It's not much between number 2 and number 5 in this league, but Sandri, he is on top with 1,580 points. Rank of 200k. Solid season so far for Sandri. I posted my team. Can you have a look at it? Thanks, mate. Yeah. Did you post on X? I will check in a minute. But let's have a quick look at Sandri's team as well. I think so. The same as with Virat Kohli's team, I think that Mukiele potentially is someone to consider selling ahead of game week 28, to be honest, because he's confirmed to miss 3 weeks. He can potentially miss blank game week 31 with this team. You have Gabriel, you have O'Reilly, you have Rice, you have Holland, you have Richards. So we have 5 players. You have Raya as well. 6 players that will blank in blank game week 31. So if you want to navigate blank game week 31, you should actually start offloading some of those players. Mukiele, Richards, someone to consider selling. O'Reilly is probably fine to just keep him. Rice as well. I have said this earlier as well. I think that Florian Wirtz, even though he's a bit expensive, he is potentially a keep. Even though he misses out in game week 28, he can hopefully play midweek in game week 29. So injured in the warm-up ahead of game week 27. Really unlucky for Florian Wirtz owners, especially the new Florian Wirtz owners ahead of game week 27. Of course, bringing in a player that got injured right before the game. But this team looks solid. You have Wilson in. So something to consider is to sell Mukiele, potentially bring in someone like Collins. So Mukiele out. Kind of depends on how much you have in the bank as well. Let's have a look. Nothing in the bank for Sandri. So no easy way to bring in Van Dijk with this team. You have Ekitike in, nice. I might actually have the same front 3 heading into game week 28. So with this team, I would potentially sell Mukiele, bring in defender from I think Brentford potentially. They are actually one of the teams that the bookies believe will keep a clean sheet in game week 28. So Mukiele to a Brentford defender, or maybe bring in potentially Richards and Mukiele to Collins and Hill, the Bournemouth defender, priced at 4 million. Can potentially be good moves for Sandri. My plan is Rice to Schade, Dango, or Raya to Alisson. I like those moves as well, to be honest. It will give you a solid goalkeeper for blank game week 31. And starting to offload Rice as well is good for being able to avoid hits and fielding 11 players in blank game week 31. So yeah, definitely something to consider. I think that Rice potentially can be kept. It's not like Rice is injured, so my first priority with this team would potentially be to do something with the defenders. Rice, you can just keep Rice all the way until and sell him just ahead of blank game week 31 as well. Is Rice still a good pick? So Aaron, I was actually just discussing Rice. I think that he is potentially someone we should consider selling, but if you have other fires to put out, like we see with Soundry's team on the screen, I don't really think that Rice is a first priority sell. I would sell the likes of Mukiele, potentially Richards as well, before considering to sell Rice. The thing is that against Chelsea in game week 28, Rice can potentially do well. He is one of the leaders in the Arsenal team. We know he will start. He can pick up defensive contribution points and he can get attacking returns. He's still on set pieces for Arsenal, so they are like fighting to win the title this season. So Rice, I don't consider him as a definite sell, but I would consider selling him ahead of game week 31 if you need to offload Arsenal players to field 11, but not definitely a sell ahead of game week 28. Timber to continue to start for Arsenal. I think Timber would be more of a priority to get rid of. I think that he potentially can see a bit more rotation, and we have seen him being taken off early as well. So Timber would definitely be above Rice on the list of priority sells in the upcoming game weeks. I actually sold Timber from my own team ahead of game week 27, so brought in Van Dijk turned out to be a really good move for my team. So Timber, I think he just got like, so he picked up an assist, but he only played 58 minutes, got the yellow card as well, while Van Dijk, he actually got 11 points. Orange Apple, I'm back. Apologies, was just eating. No worries, mate. Thanks for joining in once again. Let's see, we got a couple of team IDs, so let's have a quick look. Who was first? My team code is. Let's have a look. So here we go. This is Adiv's team, game week 27, 40 points. So red arrow in game week 27, but still a really good rank for Adiv ahead of game week 28. In a good position, ranked at 47k. So this can potentially be a really good season for Adiv as well. 40 points in game week 27. So a game week rank of 8.8 million. So the rank could be really close to a top 10k rank if a couple of other assets in this team delivered last game week. I already made 3 transfers, getting Kelleher, Django, and Van Dijk. I'm actually considering Kelleher for my own team as well. So with this team that's on the screen, let me just scroll so we can see the bench as well. Give me a minute. There we go. So from this team, Adiv, he has sold Jose Sa, the goalkeeper, brought in Kelleher. I think that this potentially is a really solid move. I don't really like spending transfers on goalkeepers, but considering that Kelleher, Brentford, they are one of the favorites to keep a clean sheet, and they have really good fixtures going forward as well. I think this potentially can be a really good move. Jose Sa, he was a good punt ahead of game week, double game week 26. He did well, but I think his time is up. I think if you have Sanchez in goal as well, the Chelsea goalkeeper, I think that he potentially is worth transferring out. So other transfers, Django is in, Van Dijk is in as well. Chalobah, Enzo Fernandez. So I definitely like those moves. Chalobah, Enzo Fernandez, really tough games coming up for Chelsea, so definitely makes sense to sell them. Van Dijk, really solid option at the moment, and Django Ouattara is a good punt. Still have 2 free transfers, so let's see with this team. Enzo Fernandez is gone. Cole Palmer playing against Gabriel Timber. The biggest issue is being the midfielder to get to replace Cole Palmer. I think with this team and the team structure, I would actually consider something like Mane to potentially Raul Jimenez or Ekitike. Cole Palmer, I think you can potentially sell Mane and bring in Igor Thiago as well, and Cole Palmer to Harry Wilson potentially. Timber and Enzo to Van Dijk, Django, Tara, or Timber and Enzo to Hill and Florian Wirtz. The thing is, I actually like Florian Wirtz, but considering the fact that he did not participate in the Liverpool training session this evening or afternoon, I think that Timber and Enzo to Van Dijk and Django potentially is the best move this game week. We know what we will get from Van Dijk, right? 90 minutes week in, week out, and I really like the ownership of Django Tara. He looks like really good value at this point, so Timber and Enzo Fernandez to Van Dijk and Django will definitely be my moves ahead of game week 28. So you have been out eating. I think that I mentioned this a couple of times, maybe missed it. I think that bringing in Florian Wirtz ahead of game week 28 is a big risk. We know that game week 29 is really quick after game week 28, so it's a Tuesday deadline for game week 29, so can't really see Florian Wirtz if he did not train today. Can't really see him start and play close to 90 minutes on Saturday and then once again on Tuesday. So Van Dijk to Django Tara is probably the best moves ahead of game week 28. I need to replace Palmer. Wilson looks good, but is there a slightly better move? Is there a slightly better, more expensive option than Harry Wilson? What about Semenyo for a short punt? So there are some other players in that price category a bit between Cole Palmer and Harry Wilson, and of course Bruno Fernandes and Bumo. You already have those players in. Semenyo could be a punt. Seeing that you don't have any Crystal Palace players, you can potentially take a punt on Semenyo. You potentially have to sell him ahead of game week 31, of course. But if you replace Mane, I think this can work. So Mane, he will blank as well in game week 31. So I like Cole Palmer to Semenyo, Mane to Thiago. So if you decide to bring in Semenyo, you will have, let's have a quick count. You will have Hallen, Semenyo, Rice, Gabriel, and Timber. So 5 players with no fixture in game week 31. So your next transfers will have to be something like, at least you will have to sell 2 of those assets to field 11 players in blank game week 31. Time for Gordon, playing striker with Mother in midfield. I have actually owned Anthony Gordon at 2 different occasions so far this season. He has not delivered for my FPL team, but I have watched Newcastle in the Champions League and he has looked a bit better. So recently he has been playing up front for Newcastle. So are the fixtures good enough? I haven't really checked the fixtures for Newcastle, to be honest, but let's have a quick look at Newcastle's upcoming fixtures. Let's just check Bruno Guimaraes fixtures. So these are the Newcastle upcoming fixtures playing against Everton in game week 28. Then they play at home against Man United, Chelsea away, Sunderland at home, away against Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, and then they have Arsenal away in game week 34. So the next couple of fixtures can, of course, be good for Anthony Gordon if he continues playing up front for Newcastle. Playing against Everton and Man United at the St. James's Park. Historically, this can be... There can be a lot of goals scored in those games. Away against Chelsea, not the best fixture. But the thing is that when Anthony Gordon plays up front, he usually can do well against those good defensive teams on counterattacks, of course. But without Bruno Guimaraes, I know that he scored 4 goals in the Champions League, but is this the time for Anthony Gordon? I'm not really sure, to be honest. I think that there are a lot of interesting players in midfield with really good fixtures coming up. If you think Anthony Gordon will do well, of course you should bring him in, but I'm not really sure if I would advise anyone to bring in Anthony Gordon, to be honest. It was really frustrating owning him. He was like taken off at around the hour mark every game week. So I know he has been a bit better recently, but yeah, I think there are really good options on offer, especially the Brentford midfield duo with Django Otara and Kevin Schade. So, by the way, I have already used my wildcard and triple captain, but my team looks pretty good for game week 30. Do you recommend I use it if I don't have injuries, or save it for game week 33 doubles? So you have already used the wildcard and the triple captain. So use it. So are you talking about the free hits or the bench boost? You should have 2 chips left if you have used your wildcard and triple captain. I meant bench boost. I'm sorry, didn't see that. I definitely think that bench boost can be really valuable to utilize in double game week 33. I will potentially, at least this is my strategy this season, I will potentially play my wildcard in game week 32 and bench boost in double game week 33. So I have actually made a chip strategy video. It's linked in the description down below. So if you're interested, give that one a watch as well. Evan Nilsson, is he a must sell? So I haven't seen any news about any time frame for Evan Nilsson. Let's see if there's something updated. So no confirmed injuries for Evan Nilsson. Definitely not a must sell. Of course, there are other options available, but using a transfer to sell Evan Nilsson. Short answer is Evan Nilsson a must sell. I'd say no. Bench boost, my bad, no worries. Did Evan Nilsson get injured, or are you just worried about bad form? Yeah, my questions too, I guess. Stelios, I'm really sorry, forgot to check your team as well. Will do right now. Could you have a look at my mini league as well? Already did Munoz to Hill and I have 4 free transfers left. Interesting. So let's have a look at Stelios' team. Oops. Points. So this is Stelios' team. Green arrow in game week 27. Overall rank 100k. So could be a good season for Stelios as well. So please let me know which chips do you have left. 52 points, solid game week. Munoz 9 points, but Munoz, he is actually sold. Ooh, picked up the clean sheet from Verbruggen. That's nice. Kind of surprising, but that doesn't really mean much. Mukiele is someone to consider selling. I have said this a couple of times. Mukiele, he is confirmed to be out for 3 weeks. You might potentially need Mukiele in game week 31, in blank game week 31, but at this point we're not really sure if he will start that game week. So I definitely would consider selling Mukiele. Timber as well. So with this team, I would consider bringing in Van Dijk. And seeing that you have 4 free transfers, Munoz is sold. Oops, that's better. Munoz to Hill, so can potentially start consider bringing in Liverpool cover, considering the fixtures with this team. I think Van Dijk is, of course, maybe a bit boring considering that his ownership has gone up quite a bit recently, but he is a really safe, sound option. Will play close 90 minutes. Did not pick up defensive contributions in game week 27, but he might very well do this in game week 28. So can continue picking up attacking returns. We saw this late in game week 27 as well. Picked up an assist, bonus points. So Van Dijk definitely someone to consider. So with this team, there are a couple of players that I would consider selling. You have Shalaba in really tough games coming up for Chelsea. You have João Pedro as well. He has done really, really well, of course, recently, but maybe he can be sold. I'm thinking Igor, Thiago, Wilson, O'Reilly, but Van Dijk is safer. That's true. Munoz is Hill, Shalaba. So you have Timber. I think potentially Timber to Van Dijk. Potentially Mukiele to Collins, the Brentford centre back who's back from injury. Yeah, Shalba and João Pedro, they play in game with everyone. Definitely they do. So they can, of course, potentially be... You can potentially keep them, but... Mukiele and Timber are probably priority sells, especially seeing that you have Mark Guiu in your team as well. He will not be much of help in blank game week 31. So with this team, you should actually start considering doing something with blank game week 31 in mind. So you potentially don't have the luxury of selling all of your Chelsea assets because of the fixtures. So João Pedro in this team, I would definitely consider just keeping João Pedro. So potentially something like 4 free transfers. You already freed up some funds with Munoz to Hill. So is it possible to do something like Mark Guiu to Igor, Thiago, Rice to Django Ouattara? Potentially, you can consider bringing in Raul Jimenez as well for Mark Guiu. You can't really... I think if you want to survive blank game with your one, you can't really carry Mark Guiu all the way until blank game with your one. You will most probably have to utilize all of your bench this game week to have 11 starters. So at this point, you have Mukiele, Mark Guiu, who probably won't play. You have Timber, Rice, Gabriel, Semenyo, and Erling Haaland. So 5 players in addition to the injured Mukiele and the benched Mark Guiu. So Guiu, I think at this point Guiu has to go. So he's a good enabler, of course. You can focus on spending most of your budget on your best 12, 13, 14 players and not worry about that last spot on your bench. But considering we're heading into the run-in, we potentially will utilize the bench boost soon as well. I don't really see a way to carry players like Mark Guiu going forward. So definitely something to consider. Guiu upgrade to Raul Jimenez, Rice to Django Tara can potentially be interesting options ahead of the next game week. So let's put up a quick captain poll as well. So please go vote in the poll as well. Who will be your captain, or who do you think is the best captain ahead of game week 28? Erling Haaland, an option. Bruno Fernandes, Igor Thiago against Burnley as well. So Stellas, thanks for posting your team. There are, as mentioned, some issues in this team, considering blank game week 31. Start offloading Arsenal players, and on top of my list would actually be Timber. Rice, Gabriel can be held for a couple of more game weeks. Gabriel can potentially be benched for blank game week 31. Same goes for Semenyo and Erling Haaland. So this means that Timber, potentially Rice as well, should be sold. I think Rice can be sold ahead of game week 31. But Mark Guiu, he definitely has to go. I think Mukiele as well. I'm a bit worried about game week 31 coming a bit too early for Mukiele, considering that he is predicted to be out for 3 weeks. Can potentially be more, of course, so Mukiele is someone to consider selling as well. So let's head over to X and see if there are any other teams posted. So if you're interested in having your team reviewed, you can head over to X and post a picture of your team selection. Please send me a reminder in the chat if you post your team. So we have a new team, a couple of new teams in this one. So this is 31 minutes ago. Did we look at this, Adiv? Yes, we did. I haven't seen this format in a while, but let's see if we can get all of this in one picture. So Raya, Ingle, really big gap between the bench and forwards, midfielders, defenders in this one. But let's have a look. Raya is in goal, so it's a double up on the Arsenal defense. Maguire against Crystal Palace. I was actually a bit surprised earlier this evening. I actually checked for potential price rises, and Maguire and Dalot, so both of them are actually predicted to go up in price this evening. Hill is in. I really like Hill, only priced at 4 million. So if you need to downgrade in defense to upgrade in midfield or up front, I think that Hill definitely is someone to consider. So Bruno Fernandes, Rodgers, Mbumo, Cole, Palmer, and Semenyo. Up front, Evan Nilsson, Igor Thiago. On the bench, Mane, Chalobah, and Richards. So with this team, there are a couple of players I would consider offloading really soon. So Shalaba, really tough fixtures coming up. Richards blanking in game week 31. So if you're interested in selling Cole Palmer, you can potentially do something like Cole Palmer to Kevin Schade or Django Otara, and you can upgrade Mane to do you have enough funds to bring in Ekitiki? No Erling Haaland in this team. Potentially you have enough funds if you sell Cole Palmer to do something like Palmer to Django Tara and Mateus Mane to Ekitiki. This will give you Liverpool attacking cover, double up on Brentford for the good fixtures, and you will avoid having Cole Palmer play against your double Arsenal defense. Ooh, only one free transfer, but 4 million in the bank. I think considering that with those suggested moves, you will sell, upgrade one player that definitely will blank in blank game week 31, so probably worth it. It says in the official site that Michele is back March 14th, which is game week 30. Michele could be back for game week 31. It's 8-day gap from game week 30. Yeah. Can potentially be back for game week 31. The thing is that he can potentially be out as well. So I think if you can just keep him on the bench, if your team is strong enough and you don't really need him in the next 3 game weeks, you can potentially just have him on the bench and hope that he plays in game week 31. But of course, there is a slight risk that he potentially can miss game week 31. So it was said on the press conference today that he potentially will miss 2 to 3 game weeks. I'm sorry, 2 to 3 weeks. So 3 weeks from now, that's March 14th. So I think this probably just was like a close estimate. So I think it can be 2 weeks, can be 4 weeks. Didn't really sound like they had a exact time frame for his return. So 2 to 3 weeks, can potentially be 4, not really sure. So can potentially just hold Michele for a couple of weeks and wait to see what they say ahead of game week 30, of course. Makes sense, I'll hold. Yeah. If you have other fires, as I talked about earlier as well, Michele is probably a hold. I think potentially Richards is someone I would consider selling before Michele. Potentially Timber as well, considering his price and the fact that he can let you upgrade in other areas of your team. So on the screen, my team at the moment, I have some fires I need to put up myself. Not really a big fan of my own team ahead of game week 28. So Enzo Fernandez, he will most probably be sold. So I had a look at selling Jared Bowen. To bring in Ekitiki. And to fund this move, I need to sell Enzo Fernandez. Would you bench Sar or Calvert-Lewin? Probably Calvert-Lewin. I would bench Calvert-Lewin this game week, but if you want to sell one of them, I would definitely sell Sar, considering that he is one of those players that will have a blank in blank game week through one. But if you're not making any transfers, if it's just a straight decision between benching one of them, I would bench Calvert-Lewin against Man City. So what I'm considering ahead of game week 28 is to sell Jared Bowen, bring in Ekitiki, sell Enzo Fernandez, bring in Django Otara, and also sell my goalkeeper Sanchez to bring in Keller. I actually have the exact amount of funds to do those moves. It's not looking like any of those players will drop in price or rise in price tonight, so I can potentially just hold off until tomorrow. It would be a bit annoying, of course, if we get any surprising rises or drops in price this night, and I will not afford this tomorrow. So I can potentially bring in Django Otara. I have actually considered to drop Django Otara, given the fact that I already have Brentford attacking cover in Igor Thiago, so I can go for Harry Wilson. The fact is that Harry Wilson's ownership is already that high, so I like the differential appeal in bringing in Django Otara. So this would give me a triple up on Brentford with Kelleher, Django, Igor Thiago, and I would not be able to bring in Kevin Schade. Would you pick Schade over Django if they were the same price? Yes, I think Schade potentially is a bit more explosive. We have seen this earlier this season as well. It's been a while since he scored a hat-trick, but he has the potential to have really explosive games. So there is 1 million between them as well. isn't it? I think Django Tara is 5.9, Schade is 6.9, right? So it's 1 million between them. I think it's this 1 million that makes Django Tara the more popular asset at the moment out of the two. So if they were priced the same, I think most FPL managers would go for Kevin Schade, to be honest. On the screen, my potential transfers ahead of game week 28: Sanchez to Kelleher, Enzo Fernandez to Django, Jared Bowen to Ekitike. I was really considering to bring in Florian Wirtz, but considering the fact that he did not train, he did not participate in the training session for Liverpool today, and the fact that there is a really quick turnaround between game week 28 and game week 29, I think I will probably just stay away from Florian Wirtz. Can't really see him start both game weeks considering the quick turnaround. So might just bite the bullet, sell Jared Bowen, go for Ekitike. And so out Sanchez to Kelleher. Brought in Django Tara and Bumo and Van Dijk. Nice options. I, as mentioned, really considering to bring in Django myself. I actually brought in Van Dijk ahead of game week 27, so I sold Timber to bring in Van Dijk. So this was in preparation for blank game week 31 as well. So none of my game week 28 transfers will be future planning for blank game week 31. I still have some assets I need to get rid of to field 11 players in blank game week 31, but I still have time to sell the likes of Rice and Mosquera. Oops. So this is my team. Not really a big fan of this team. There are some issues. So I have Sanchez against Arsenal, not the best fixture. Van Hecke against Nottingham Forest is probably okay. Gabriel against Chelsea. Van Dijk against West Ham. So I actually have Van Dijk playing against Jared Bowen. This is one of the reasons why I'm considering to upgrade Jared Bowen to Ekitike. Bruno Fernandes, Rodgers, I have Rice in midfield as well. Enzo Fernandez against Arsenal, he will most probably be sold. So what I'm considering is actually to sell both Sanchez and Enzo Fernandez, Kelleher and Django. Potentially Harry Wilson can be brought in as well. And I have Jared Bowen up front playing against Liverpool. So there are some tough fixtures coming up for West Ham. So even though I actually like Jared Bowen as an FPL asset, he is a 90 minutes man. He can pick up defensive contributions even though he's classified as a forward and he is on penalties for West Ham at the moment. But considering the fixtures for Liverpool, I'm really interested in bringing in some attacking cover from their team. So Florian Wirtz was actually one of the players I was considering, but considering the fact that he did not train for Liverpool and the quick turnaround between game week 28 and game week 29, I might just stay away from Florian Wirtz. So Jared Bowen to Ekitike, Enzo Fernandez to Django Otara or Wilson, and Sanchez to Kelleher. So my captain at the moment is Erling Haaland. Might go for a differential this game week. I'm interested in both Igor Thiago and Bruno Fernandes. So in the captain poll, Bruno Fernandes, he is actually the favorite with 50%, 38% for Erling Haaland, and only 12 for Igor Thiago. No one has voted for the other categories so far. So we will get more information on the press conferences tomorrow. So it doesn't really look likely that any of the players that I'm interested in bringing in will go up in price tonight. Doesn't really look likely that any of the players that I potentially will sell will drop in price. So I will most probably just wait until tomorrow confirming those transfers. So I will have a deadline stream tomorrow. It will be a bit earlier than the deadline, so like 4 hours before the deadline, and I will be live for a couple of hours. So if you're interested, join in tomorrow as well. I will, of course, give updates on the press conferences, and I will confirm my moves. I will have live reviews tomorrow as well. So if you're interested in joining the a bit earlier than usual deadline stream tomorrow, you're more than welcome. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel as well. It's actually a new feature on the channel as well. It's possible to become a member. So after reaching 3,000 watch time hours, I unlocked channel membership. So it's possible to support the channel by becoming a member. So no members yet. I haven't really advertised the membership, but if you're interested in supporting the channel, that would be really appreciated. As mentioned, thanks all for joining in. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow, but if not, best of luck for game week 28 and have a lovely weekend. So hopefully I'll see you tomorrow for the deadline stream. If not, best of luck for game week 28. Thanks all for joining in.